Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. We're going to give everybody a couple of minutes here to get onto the webinar with us. If this is your first time joining us on a webinar, we welcome you. And we will start here shortly, and we'll call it we won't start in that long, maybe another 2 minutes. But what I would love is to chat with you guys a little bit. So you have the ability to either chat with us or to do a Q&A. So I would love for you to throw into the chat, tell me maybe where you're joining us from today. That'd be a great kind of thing to start with. So I'm in Chicago. Tyler, where are you?
I'm coming to you live from Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Yeah. All right. We got somebody in Atlanta, and we got the United Kingdom. Ooh, that got people in many different time zones. So let us know kind of where you're at, where you're joining us from. We like participation. California, Toronto. All right. So we now go from California to Florida to Toronto to Mexico. So we literally just covered all of North America.
Yeah.
We got the UK, so we're covering part of that. The other thing I'd love to hear from you, Warrenton, Missouri. I grew up in Chesterfield and went to school at Mizzou. So Warrenton, very familiar with it, driven through it numerous times. I want to know what are you expecting? What are you hoping to learn today? So if you came with like a particular question or maybe a problem that you're dealing with, what kind of led you to want to sign up and join us for this webinar? We're going to go here in 1 minute. So thanks for sharing where you guys are at. So question I'm asking right now is to share with me what did you come on looking to learn today? Tyler and I have a great presentation for you with some great examples to show you how these things work. And what we also want to do is make sure that you leave with your questions answered. It's something I always seek to do at webinars.
Absolutely.
So if you want to let us know what you're looking to learn today within the Q&A, that would be great. At the end of this, we will be going through the questions that you guys have. So if any point during this presentation, you guys have any questions, you can use the Q&A box. Now, why use the Q&A box over the chat box? The chat box kind of gets a little loud and noisy during this as you guys are all chatting and asking things along the way. If you put your questions in the Q&A, it's a lot easier for us to kind of follow and understand and know what's going on. So that's kind of why I ask you to use each one in its own little way. All right, we're a couple minutes past the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Awesome.
Welcome to the Seller Labs and Xcart webinar on trending critical role of search and maximizing a seamless customer experience. We're going to be covering the wide-ranging topic of search and customer experience on today's webinar. But before we get started, I want to make sure you know who we are. So if you've never met me, my name is Jeff Cohen. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Seller Labs. And I've been in the e-commerce space since 2005. First website I launched was called textbooks.com. And I was in the textbook space for about 8 years before going into the general e-commerce space and partnering with the founder of Seller Labs to develop software for sellers in the Amazon marketplace. Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tyler Henderson. I'm the head of global sales for Xcart. I've been in the e-commerce space for about 7 years, working with Seller Labs and Xcart, and really just helping brands figure out how to bridge the gap of where brands sit and how customers shop, and really bridging that gap to understand that experience and create a seamless customer experience. So today's topic is extremely relevant to that.
Great. And for those of you who may be historic Xcart customers and you've seen the Seller Labs company added to the Xcart logo, in October of 2019, Seller Labs acquired Xcart, and we've kept them as two separate companies. They both have the same mission, though. Both of them have the mission of driving success in digital marketplaces. And ultimately, our goal is to enable decision-making. We want to be able to take all the information that's out there and make it so that you, as an e-commerce owner or a marketplace seller, can make better decisions and focus your business in the right arena. So as I said, Seller Labs has been in business since about 2012, primarily focused on the Amazon marketplace. It's been a leading software provider for third-party sellers. And Xcart has been around since the early 2000s, working on the flexible, scalable, and affordable e-commerce solutions, which has led to a really nice merger of the two companies and the ability for us to now help customers all the way from selling on a marketplace to developing their own e-commerce, or from developing their own e-commerce to expanding into marketplaces, or even expanding their digital channels through our managed services group. Tyler, for those that aren't familiar with Xcart, why don't you explain a little bit more about who Xcart is and what all we do?
Yeah, absolutely. Xcart is a open code e-commerce platform, which means that it really gives you a ton of flexibility, scalability, and affordability to coming in and developing your own e-commerce platform. We've been in business, this is our 20th year in business. We've worked with over 38,000 e-commerce stores, like some of the names that you see on the side there, including huge energy providers like Fjordcraft, industry leaders in the automotive space like Car ID. The list goes on and on. Really, the priority and why people love working with us is because of the flexibility of what we're able to offer in allowing you to come in and create the user journey as your customers expect it, and being able to find the correct way to present this to your customers, and then also to give your teams the internal management tools to get to where you need to be. So you're also presenting your team with a great experience as well as your customer. So that's the real goal in the Xcart platform, is to be able to do that in a scalable and affordable way.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, most webinars that you attend always seem to be an hour long. I don't know why. And I said to Tyler, and we've been doing webinars together for a number of years. I said to Tyler, why does this webinar need to be an hour? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and give you the right amount of information in the amount of time that it takes, and then we'll let you get back to your jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I know everyone, Jeff and I included, are maybe a little webinar burnt out based on the current state of the world and Zoom. So we want to make sure that we're answering your questions, like Jeff mentioned at the beginning, that we're really speaking to your exact needs, and that we're giving you only the relevant information and not making it an hour to make it an hour. That doesn't do any of us any good.
So using our experience in developing, thousands of websites and working with tens of thousands of sellers across the space, we want to go into the role of search. What is the role of search? Why does it matter? Then we're going to go into how you turn that experience into a seamless experience. Within each of these sections, we're going to actually show you and talk about best practices for how to actually apply this. And then at the end, we're going to come through and kind of show you how we do an audit of a website and the ways that we look at websites to determine how they're working and what improvements can be made. And I got a special offer if you stick around that will allow you to see how we see websites and maybe see your own website in a totally different way. And that's, I guess, whether you're a customer or whether you're not a customer, you could value from that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we want to talk about the role of search on your website. Now, most of us know search is the first place people go. Search is so critically important to your website and to your customer experience, which is why it gets such prominent placement on a site. And we're going to show you that placement and what the best placement is. Now, one of the things that I learned in researching and preparing for this webinar today was how critical the design of your search box is. Now, what I'm showing you here is what is considered to be the best practice for search box design. So you want your search box to be a big open text field. You want it to have some pre-populated text, maybe a recommendation for the type of searches that can be made. You want to be using a magnifying glass, specifically a magnifying glass, to designate the search action And you want the search action to be a button separate from the search box. Now, this all seems really simple and it all seems really basic, but the number of people who aren't even doing this simple and basic piece of it correct are really high. And if you just expect your users to type into a search box and hit return, which is a fairly natural behavior, you can actually tell if you're using some type of third-party heat mapping tool, the number of people who are clicking around looking for a click area, even if you don't provide one to them. So it's really important that you make your search the way that people expect it to be, and that you show icons that are becoming common across the space. So this is a great example of what your search box should look like. Now let's talk a little bit, Tyler, about why search is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So 43% of customers go straight to the search box and start searching your site. So straight away, that's almost half of your customer, potentially even more depending on your vertical, that are going directly to the search. They're making the beeline immediately for it. Why it's even more important is that searchers are 2 to 3 times more likely to convert than those that are just browsing the site. This is something that is true across all the platforms. So it's critically important that, one, you make it apparent where your search bar is, to Jeff's exact point, and that people understand how to get there. And two, you're getting it there quickly and allowing them to convert along the path.
Yeah, and it's also critical that the results that you give are pertinent to the search that's made.
Absolutely.
And so the type of search tool that you use, or the sophistication of your search engine, really becomes critically important to the success and your ability to drive customers and to drive happy customers. Now, there's no better place to use as a best practice and an example as Amazon, but that's not fair, because it's easy to go to Amazon and say, this is what we should do. We don't all have the resources that Amazon has. I've even heard statistics that Amazon's search box is 70% of its users' action on the homepage. Yeah. 70%. And that's crazy. Now, the second most visited page on Amazon is actually the deals page. So people are going there and they're actually looking for exactly what they want, or they're going there and they're looking for a deal. So we can learn from that and we can apply that into our own website to ensure that our customers are getting a similar liked experience. Now, let's show a couple of examples of how our customers are using search and talk about maybe some of the features and functionalities that they're using on these pages, and maybe how others could use a similar functionality.
Absolutely. And Jeff, to tack on to what you're saying there, Amazon is obsessive about the customer experience. And so as a generally good rule of thumb, if Amazon's doing something, there's probably a pretty good reason that they're doing something, and you should try to mimic it, even if you don't have the resources to do, right? Saying, oh, this is something that we're aspiring to, is a pretty good place to start, because Amazon is just obsessed with the customer journey and the customer experience.
Yep.
So here's an example of a customer of ours, Trademark Hardware. They sell a really complicated, dense product catalog. They sell everything from doorknobs to door stoppers, like we're seeing here, door sweeps. They're all very, very specific products to the type of material they're made of, color, huge number of variants, tens of thousands of products. So being able to search, what we learned just a second ago is 43% of their customers are coming in and searching immediately, right? So helping a customer find what they're looking for amongst tens of thousands of products can be rather difficult, especially if you're looking for a specific length of a door stopper. Does this work with my door? Being able to display those things to a client quickly, to a customer quickly, allow them to see and make a decision based on multiple criteria is critically important to their success in keeping the customer and allowing them to convert. So offering suggestions dynamically, like we see here, where as we autofill, as we dynamically change, as I type in door, it's going to start to prioritize the most important things to me. As I start to fill in sweeper following it, oh, those priorities are completely changed. That's a critical way to be able to dial in and understand your customers and get the results of that. And then also be able to make sure that you're presenting only the most relevant information to the customer.
Yeah. And so with this quick view, with this search quick view, the customer is going to automatically know, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to change their search without having to go to the search results page and then search again. But what's also interesting about Trademark Hardware is they also do a really good job of offering category suggestions. Yeah. So what we're seeing here is their search. But if you were to scroll down below the fold on their page, you automatically start to see category suggestions. So you're going to see, are you looking for a doorknob, a doorstop, a door sweep, a hinge? And if you know that you're looking for a hinge, you can go into the Browse Node catalog. And so they're offering their customer both ways to shop. Absolutely. But specifically, if you're using the search functionality, they're giving you the ability to start seeing your results before you even get to a results page. And that's only going to improve your customer experience. Was there anything else about this page that kind of stood out to you, Tyler?
The location of the search bar. Normally when we and we'll get to this in a later slide, the location of the search bar is front and center here for Trademark Hardware. They want it to be the first thing that you see at the top of the search bar. It scrolls down with them. It doesn't condense a ton as you scroll down. The search bar is prominent for them within that.
Yeah, and the other thing about the search bar is the size of the search bar, right? The amount of space that they're giving you. And it's critical that you actually give your customers enough room to type based off of the type of keywords they might be looking for. So if they're looking for, if your search would be 1 or 2 word keywords, you can have a smaller box. But if you have more what's called long tail keywords, longer ways to describe the search, then you want that larger search box. And they make that search really prominent, but it's not overbearing on their site. And their site still has a really nice look and feel to it, where search is still a prominent position. Now, let's look at another example where search is really critical, but it's also critical to understand what you're looking for to make sure you have the right stuff.
Absolutely. So this is an example of a customer of ours, Car ID. I don't know how many of you have cars or have looked specifically for parts for cars, but that's a deep well to get into if you're starting to think about specification of a complicated product. Car parts is about as complicated as you can get, because you have individual products that work for individual years of individual models of individual makes. And so the well is just infinitely deep. You can have as many as 1 million or 5 million SKUs on your site. And customers are coming in searching for one specific SKU, or maybe as many as 2 or 3 specific SKUs amongst those millions of SKUs. So being able to search and display the correct results to a customer and allowing them to understand this is how I need to get to it is critical for the auto part space. So customizing, and one of the things that we work with these customers is what we call make, model, year, and allowing customers to dial in. And it's a mix of search and a mix of filtering and being able to find the exact parts by filtering into your exact make, model, year so that we can display the most relevant results. So this is an extremely custom solution to help present the best user experience to their customers.
Yeah, and we're actually giving the user 3 search options. So if they come to the site and they know what part they want, they can use the top search bar and they can actually search by a part or a part number or a part description. If they don't know what they want, but they know they want something for a particular make, model of their car, then they can actually search by the vehicle type and see what kind of product we have for that vehicle type. And then if they know they want a particular browse node, the browse nodes are right there for them to say, well, I want to find some stuff around audio. Maybe the type of car doesn't really matter. I just want to see what you have available to them. And I thought this was kind of funny because I was talking to our head of product about this. And what she was saying was, have you ever tried to buy windshield wipers for your car? If you buy windshield wipers for your car, you have to look at this big document, find your car, and then you're given like 3 numbers to know your right, your left, and your rear windshield wiper. Imagine what you can do for your customers, if they just come in and say, I want windshield wipers, and then you say, what kind of car do you have? And you basically sell them a bundle of those 3 windshield wipers, or let them buy them individually. Now, one of the things that is also critically important about this example is the placement of the search. So Tyler, talk a little bit about where search could be and why it's important to think about that placement.
Absolutely. So to Jeff's exact point, humans look for patterns in things. What you have to remember is that humans love being habitual. They love looking for patterns in things. They want it to be in a similar spot every time. We like being going and knowing where something's at. I'm going to go to the top bar here. If I go to a website, it's going to be either on the top bar or in the right corner.
Yep. And
that's what this graph shows us here. It's color placement. The darker the color, the more likely the search bar is to be there, and where users expect the search bar to be. So you can see the biggest bar is on the top. The darkest bars are on the top, and in the top right corner specifically, that's where people are going to look for the search bar. So if you buck the trend and try to do something different, chances of you losing the customer and them not being able to go through and find the search is going to be high. You need to be able to display it. I mean, I've even seen some websites put the search bar within the menu bar, where you have to open the menu and then you can search. And that creates a huge user experience when you're asking someone to go through an extra step to make a purchase and buy it. I mean, we'll talk about this when it comes to the customer experience and journey, but you want to shorten this as much as possible to make it as easy as possible. The longer someone's on your site, the more chance they bounce and don't spend money with you.
Yeah. And I think that what it comes down to is really like best practices, right? And when you're trying to figure these out, there's like a great way, before we even get into this, is a great way to kind of understand. It's to start by understanding how your customers are using your site today, right? So what are they currently doing to get to their results, and how happy are they? There's a couple of ways to do that. You can do that through your Google Analytics or whatever analytics tool you use, or you could do that through a heat mapping tool like Crazy Egg, and what Crazy Egg does that's a little bit different than just Google Analytics is that it's not just going to show you the heat map of what's happening. It's also going to record sessions. And by recording sessions, it's going to show you what customers are trying to do. And it's actually really fun. And we'll get more into this in customer experience. You get to start seeing things like rage clicks and missed clicks and stuff like that. But when we're talking about the overall experience of the search bar and search on your site, you have to understand how your customers are expecting to shop. And you can do this by looking at your competitors. You want to be able to push the envelope of what you're doing on your site, but you can't push it so far that you confuse the customer. What other best practices are you recommending, Tyler?
I'd recommend, to your exact point, knowing how your customers expect to shop. And this is something that you need to look at heat maps. You need to look at your Google Analytics. Also, if you're using any kind of smart search like what we offer, you should be getting results as to what people are actually searching for on your site as well. So you can see if people are searching for your products in a way that you don't expect, and if you should be adding those keywords on your own site, or changing what you're pushing up there in the results, because, they're probably looking for this product when they search this, but that's not displaying to them currently. So understanding the data behind it is something that's really key. Another thing that's super essential is ensuring that you have the speed of results, so that you're using, again, a smart search tool or something like that to ensure that you're displaying results quickly and that users are being able to see what they want to see, and that they're accurate. So accuracy comes down to, like we were talking about before, making sure we're displaying what they want. Speed is making sure that we're displaying it to them quickly and they're not having to sit around and wait for a wheel to spin for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And ultimately, what your customers are looking for is to get to their product to buy from you faster. And so when we roll into the seamless customer experience, we always start with search, because it's critically important that you get customers to buy to the right product before they can buy it. And if you don't think of things in this way, then it's kind of like water running down a river, but having a dam, and you get stopped up by something that just allows you to move further, but you're not solving the right problem. And so we can actually seek to solve customer experience problems, but if we're not getting people to the right product, they can't buy it anyway. And that's where your satisfaction will become the highest. You want people to come to your site, look for a product, find it, and buy it. And then rinse and repeat that process all day long. And it sounds really simple for me to say it, but when you have a large catalog and your search takes a while, or you have a catalog and your results don't come back based on the customer expectation, you actually lead to a bad customer experience. But customer experience is so much more beyond search. So let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest, I'll call it headaches or problems or challenges that we see from many of our customers, which is shopping cart abandonment.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge area for growth. This slide says it all. In March 2020, 88% of online shopping orders were abandoned. So I came to the site, found what I wanted or something that resembled what I wanted, added it to my cart, and then left the site. 88% is extremely high, and that's a big month for this year. We see on average at least 50%, 49 to 50% per industry, and it ranges up depending on the industry. But even on an average month, you're seeing 50% of the potential sales being lost after someone's added something to a cart. So that's huge potential for growth.
So why would somebody find a product on your site, add it to their cart, and not buy it? And ultimately, what can you do about it?
We could sit here all day and list out reasons why. It could be external things. It could be internal things. I'm just going to go look somewhere else. There's a lot of things that your site can do as well. If it's not a good customer experience, if they can't figure out how to move forward. If your site doesn't seem trustworthy, that's a huge one that we see. So ease of use, you want to make it as easy as possible to purchase, but you also want to make it feel trustworthy. And that's kind of this balance that you have to ride. So allowing users to check out easily, but also giving the ability for them to understand, this is a trustworthy site that I can go through there. They're not going to steal my credit card information.
Let's start with abandonment strategy, right? So for people that may not know what an abandonment strategy is, that means that when somebody adds something to your cart and then they exit, how are you marketing them to bring them back?
Absolutely.
And if you're on this presentation today and you don't know the answer to that, or you haven't developed that strategy, I would put that up to the top of your list, because it's some of the lowest hanging fruit. And if you can get just a small percentage of the people who do that to come back, you can get sales. And you've already maybe paid for them to come to your site.
Yep.
So getting them back just means you're going to get a better return on investment. Are there any recommendations or suggestions you have around these types of abandonment strategies?
Yeah, the absolute single lowest hanging fruit and easiest thing to do is exit offers. You've probably seen it all the time. You go to click away from the site, you get a little pop-up that says, hey, wait, you have things in your cart, use this code and save 10% on the checkout. So just offering a simple discount. Hey, don't leave. We'll help you out a little bit. That's the most easy and most basic. Then you have follow-up opportunities as far as emails for abandoned carts. So if they've gone as far to create an account with you or insert their email, or they're a return shopper, marketing to them via email about that abandoned cart and pinging them about that. Retargeting ads on Facebook and Google if you know that they have an abandoned cart, to say, hey, did you forget about this? And pushing them back towards the site. All of those are great options as far as to include in your abandoned cart abandonment strategy.
Great. So we had 3 great suggestions there around your cart abandonment strategy. You can offer a pop-up exit offer. You can automate an email for people that have that in their cart and you have their email address, or you can do retargeting ads. That's great. Let's talk about other UI, UX things that drive people to what we'll call an easier purchase. I had an experience about a week ago. I was looking for a pair of shorts and the shorts were out of stock. And when they came back in stock, I got an email from the company that said, these shorts are back in stock. The problem was I wasn't home and I had this on my phone and I tried to buy these before and they've run out of stock before. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to try to buy these on my phone. I don't like shopping on my phone. When I clicked over to their site, it took me directly to the page of the product I was looking for. It allowed me to do a one-step checkout. So I added it to cart. And then it allowed me to do a one-click checkout where I literally just double-clicked on the side of my phone, click, scanned my face, and it checked me out. That's called one-click checkout. It's an easy checkout process. Can you talk a little bit about how the checkout process and concepts like one-click checkout are improving the way customers can interact with you?
Yeah, one-click checkout's huge, especially on mobile purchases like you just talked about, Jeff. Offering checkouts through Apple Pay, Google Pay, these things that people already have on their phones. If you're on your iPhone, having Apple Pay, Google Pay, offering that as a secure way for users to check out. Oh, you don't even need to have an account. It's a guest checkout, like we mentioned before, where, okay, I know Apple, they're going to take care of me. I can just do this and I don't have to create an account. They have my shipping information already. Even PayPal is starting to allow this. So having that one-click checkout reduces multiple pages of the checkout process. So it goes from, okay, create an account. Okay, I want to create an account. There's one page. Okay, fill in your information here. Okay, there's the next page. Okay, fill in all your shipping information here. Okay, that's the next page. Okay, give us all your payment information.
And that's a lot of work when you're on a mobile device.
That is so much work. And it's even a lot of work when you're on your computer.
Right.
So
I use autofill, so it's not as much work for me, but.
Right, exactly. But I mean, the point is having that's 4 clicks. That's 4 extra clicks to the checkout process.
Yep.
That we just reduced to, okay, face recognition from Apple checkout, or even with guest checkout saying, you don't have to create an account. Just give us the top level information here, and then allowing them to create an account afterwards.
And there's a little trick about guest checkout, right? So during guest checkout, you're asking them pretty much everything except the password. Yep. You still need their email. You still need their phone number. You still need their name. So what I've actually seen, and I think is a great process, is at the end of the checkout process, once they're done, you make an offer that says, hey, would you like to create an account and track your order? And then all they have to do at that point is ask for a password.
Yep.
But it's amazing how many people would prefer to use a guest checkout because they feel, I'm air quoting if you're just listening, they feel like they're getting a direct path to purchase without having to give you as much information. Now, we talked a little bit about trusted brands, right? And most of us who are running e-commerce websites probably aren't household name brands. How do we build trust both on our website and maybe during our checkout process?
Yeah, so displaying any credentials that you have along the way in terms of payment authorizations, letting people know that you're compliant. There's, you've probably done checkouts where you can see, the Visa symbol, MasterCard symbol, all of those along the way. Those may seem meaningless, but they are beneficial to the client and knowing, oh, okay, these guys are legit. They're using a legit payment processor. Offering options as well, Apple Pay, like we talked about before, Google Pay, PayPal, saying, okay, I'm gonna send my money through PayPal. They traditionally err on the side of customers, so I know that I'm not putting myself at risk by using this. Having multiple payment options is huge in knowing, okay, this isn't some fly-by-night company that's just gonna steal my credit card information. And really establishing trust with the customer there.
Great. So we're talking about some best practices around the customer experience. We talked about the abandonment strategy and how to get people who put items in their cart but never check out. We talked about how we have to balance ease of use versus trust. We talked about the one-click checkout and how to improve the mobile process. We talked a little bit about using guest checkout and using kind of a back-end way to get customers to create an account, but not creating an upfront hurdle, and then building trust into your overall brand. And all of these things are incremental changes that allow you to build yourself to having a more well-rounded website that gives you the ability to interact with more customers and engage with them in the way that they want to be engaged. Now, I want to roll into the concept of a site audit. A lot of the stuff that we talked about in here today are within site audits that we do all the time for both our customers and prospects. Tyler, can you talk a little bit about the process that our team uses to do a technical audit of a website, and maybe what it identifies and how customers can use that information to improve their own website and process?
Absolutely, Jeff. So this is something that we do all the time for our customers and for potential customers. It's just a really, really cool, meaningful way to walk away from a conversation with a laundry list of things that you can improve to create a better customer experience. We're looking at everything from meta descriptions and file integrity, the title of your texts, 404 errors. These are all things that are important within your own site, but they're also important when it comes to search and SEO on places like Google, where customers are trying to find your site and make sure that you're showing up correctly and presenting the best customer experience from the get-go. So having all of those things is important internally, but it's also important when bringing in new customers. We also look at things like redirects, your overall site speed, and mobile site speed, as well as how mobile friendly your site is. So understanding how quickly are people able to come in and find what they're looking for? Is it loading quickly? Is it loading slowly? Why is that happening? Opening conversations up around that. Is it number of products? Is it the number of people coming to my site? Is it my hosting's bad? All of those, is it files are too big? Looking at all of these things, they all have effects on the overall site speed. It's not just which platform you're on, which can affect that as well. But all of these things affect your site speed and can affect how mobile friendly it is as well. So looking at all of these pieces together and looking at it in a really technical way can enable you to start to make decisions and optimizations from a more technical, less I feel way, right? A lot of the times we talk about how customers feel and how you and I feel when looking at a site, and it starts to take away some of the guesswork around how can I create a better site. There's people who make a lot of money doing that. We have people on staff who can help you create the best customer workflow. But from a raw technical aspect, these are places that you can improve your site tomorrow by doing pretty easy things.
Yeah, and they're things you may not even be thinking about. Like you just upload a file and you don't really think about it. But if you don't compress that file correctly, you can slow down your page. You're constantly adding add-ons to your site to have other systems segment or Google run analytics for you. And all of those things are JavaScript code, which impact your site and impact the user experience. And so it's important when you're looking at search and you're looking at customer experience, it's important to have a technical audit of what's happening to understand behind the curtains, underneath the hood, how your site is performing. And so this is something we do for a lot of our customers. Some customers have this, we do this for them on a regular basis. But if this is something you have not had done, if this is something you have not had done in a long time, you can go ahead and ask us and we would be happy to do one for you. Now, before I move on to the next, to the final part of this and go into some of the Q&A, I want to take a second and pause and give you a chance to ask questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. And in addition to that, if you want to add into the chat, we'll call it audit. If you want to just say the word audit, Tyler or myself will reach out to you and we'll see if there's if we can run this audit for you. So if you think that, you don't want to go fill out the form, we want to make your customer experience nice and easy. All you have to do is type the word audit into the chat and we'll follow up with you. Now, I do see a couple of questions that have come in here. One is a little bit more technical, and one is a little bit more procedural. And then there's a couple in the general category. So let's hit this technical one first. And Tyler, you can let me know if you don't know the answer. We'll just say okay, and we'll look up the answer for you. But he was asking, he thought that the Xcart checkout only allows you to use one form of checkout. I think I know the answer, but I'll let you take a shot at it first.
So if I'm reading this question correctly, no, we integrate with over 200 different payment processors through our X Payments platform. It's something that accepting payments and creating that experience for you and providing flexibility with that, and then also allowing your customers to feel that you're trustworthy is incredibly important to us. And so, no, we allow for multiple. On the raw per purchase level, if you're only allowed, the customer can only select one at a time. I'm not quite sure what the question was there either way, but
yeah, I feel like he used the word checkout twice, so they may have not have asked this correctly by saying, so you typically have one checkout process, but you might accept different forms of payment within that checkout process.
absolutely.
And then sometimes things get a little confusing for us because there's different versions of Xcart. And so, I mean, I can tell you that on the latest version of Xcart, if you're using X Payments, you can use anything from, I think if they haven't released it, they'll be releasing Google Pay quickly, to Apple Pay, to, any type of, credit card, Visa, MasterCard. One of the things we didn't talk about, we just released with PayPal the concept of buy now, pay later, right? And so that's a big feature that a lot of people are adding to their sites, the ability for people to buy now and pay later. It integrates right into your checkout process. And so it's not an extra checkout process for that. He asked if Apple Pay was for only mobile. I don't think so. I don't think it's mobile only. It's obviously functions a lot easier on mobile, meaning it cuts out all those pages Tyler was talking about when you're on mobile, because literally it ties into your Apple phone. You click the button and it knows what to fill out. I think you can still use Apple Pay on a desktop device, but it still requires a couple of additional fields, if you will. And the question about the checkout, we will actually look into that and make sure we get you the right answer. Because he had written back and said not the payment, but the Xcart 5, the actual checkout page, either a non-customer or a customer. So I think he's asking about how to integrate in the checkout as a guest functionality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So BB, we'll follow up with you after this about that and work with you to get that figured out.
Yeah. And then there was another question that came in with regard to, are we accepting Venmo? We do not currently have an integration with Venmo, but Venmo is owned by PayPal. So I would assume that Venmo will roll into the PayPal commerce platform, I think is what it's called. And that's what we've integrated in with recently. As of early last year, we integrated in with their new commerce payment platform. And as they roll Venmo out as an availability within that, we'll add that functionality to it. So there is a lot of different payment options. And again, as you start getting international payment options change, whether you're talking about a WeChat or things like that. And, our goal and our job is to keep the latest, greatest payment plans and processes available for you guys. Now, there was a question that was asked a little earlier, and I think it was related to related to the abandonment, and it said, is there a program to handle the strategies? And I don't know specifically that there's one program that handles all of those strategies. I know that some of the functionality is built into the core of Xcart. So I know that if you have an account and you abandon it, you can automate the messages within there. Tyler, do you know more to kind of speak to that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So out of the box in Xcart, we offer things like cart abandonment, pop-ups, the ability to offer those kind of things. I think there's even a couple different forms of what that can look like in terms of different kinds of offers. That's something that's out of the box, as well as you can automate email sequences based on that. I don't know, I can't speak to other e-commerce platforms. For us, that's something that's out of the box. I know you can also integrate in with something like MailChimp to start to send those kind of emails as well. When it comes to retargeting, there's a ton of functionality depending on the e-commerce platform or the advertising platform that you're using on how to best get that information to them. It requires some setup, but generally speaking, if you're using Google Analytics, Google AdWords, those kind of things, you can get to a point where you can retarget pretty easily.
Yeah, you could either work with our partner for that would be a company called Clickin that you could work with, or we could help you with that integration. So a question that came in a lot earlier, it actually came in like the first 5 minutes, and Mark, I'm going to still come back to it, even though you put it in chat because I made a little note.
This is the one that I had highlighted that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew the answer to this, but he wanted to know if you have a higher price product where you really need some support before the purchase. Is there a way to add a contact us about this product without actually showing the price?
So I think that this is a really interesting question, Mark. I think that this is something that I would love to just dig in with you and have a conversation. You and I schedule some time to dig in and talk about your product. And when you're talking about higher priced products that require support, that's something that what we've mentioned beforehand about knowing who your customer is and how to tailor to them and how to create the best experience for them is incredibly important. And it's incredibly important to know, obviously you don't want to create just a contact us form without giving them some kind of indication and some kind of support. So creating that experience where you can have a good workflow and customer journey where they understand logically, this is what I need to do, and I don't need to create a ton of work for myself. So it's something that does depend on your individual product vertical and your internal structure as a team and what the workflow looks like from a product sales and sales funnel perspective. So it's something that unfortunately there's not a silver bullet that solves your exact needs in the way to solve this for a higher priced product like yourself. But it's something that I would love to get into the weeds with you on a one-on-one basis and talk about how we can help you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I always joke with Tyler, I want to wear a shirt that says it depends. But I think it depends on what you're trying to do. And like Tyler said, are you 24/7? Because if you're not 24/7, you don't want to connect them to a virtual rep, but you can use like chat functionality that during your office hours makes it available for somebody to chat, or you just, basically lead them into like a lead gen type of field. And that's also where I tend to say, well, what are your competitors doing?
Totally.
And trying to look at the industry and the space to understand what the expected behavior is, and then how we can maybe improve upon that based on what we're seeing on your site. A couple technical SEO questions came in. Do meta keywords need to be separated with commas?
That's one that I am not in the weeds enough on a technical level with SEO to be able to answer that for you off the top of my head. But
yeah, I'm not either.
That's something that we can
ask our SEO team to see if they have an answer for us.
Absolutely. I think it'd just be doing you a disservice to try to answer that.
Yeah, I know the answer if you ask on Amazon. I know the answer on Amazon is no, they don't need to be, but I don't know whether they need to be or not. Caroline is saying she doesn't think they need to be, but we'll double check that. And then the last question that we have here is, when a search engine is looking at your site, does it look at the meta keywords or the meta description or both? I'll go ahead and answer that because I work with our SEO team pretty in depth. And that is to say that they are going to look at your meta keywords and your meta description and your title tags. Typically your title tags and your meta description are the most critical and important, primarily because your title tag and your meta description are what show up on the search engines. So that's why they're so critically important and need to read correctly. It's also why Google wants them to be wants them to be unique. And so I think Sean's saying that they don't look at the keywords. But I know they're looking at your titles and I know they're looking at your meta descriptions because that's what they're using to identify and display your information. So, I would say that our company is pretty well versed in the technical side of SEO in terms of telling you what you're technically doing right or wrong. By no means are we an SEO company, right? Like that's not the type of services that we offer. We do partner with some SEO companies. So if you need more in-depth SEO information or knowledge beyond just the technical audit to understand how your speed and such is doing, we can connect you with somebody who may be a good partner for you. But we're more in the business of building websites than we are in building SEO strategies. So, but I appreciate your questions and glad we could answer them today. Well, I want to wrap up here. We promised you we wouldn't go an hour. Probably went longer than I thought, but it was a great conversation with people on here. So thank you all for attending. Again, if you type the word audit or if you went to the website and filled it out, we'll follow back up with you and give you this technical audit. We need to get a little of information from you. And if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to our customer support team. Our customer support team is available to you 24/7, 365, all around the world. So we are here and we're ready to answer questions, whether it be by chat or by phone or by email, however you choose to engage with us. So thank you all for your time. Thanks for coming to the webinar today. And one last question that I like to ask, and you can throw it into chat, is you came here today, you gave us a bit of your time. How did we do? How would you value this webinar? 1 through 5, 5 being this was the best use of your time, 1 being this was a total waste. Now, I only ask one thing. If you're going to give me anything less than a 4, just understand that I might lose my job. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to lose my job, but I would like your feedback. If you're going to give me something less than a 4, I want to know what I could have done to be better so that we can be better for the next time that we present to you. So if you have a moment, just kind of add that into the chat. Tell me how we did. If not, we look forward to seeing you in the future. And if you need us, please reach out.
Thank you, everyone.